It's day 360 of being a woman, and it's my first International Women's Day, and I feel a lot more comfortable calling myself a woman than I did in those early days. And I'm definitely in my womanhood now, not just my girlhood. The articles written about me using he pronouns and calling me a man over and over again. And I feel like that should be illegal. I don't know.
I'm a biological female and a trans woman is a biological male. It's why you are a trans person. There's no other reason you're trans. It's biology. First off, what I have is not normal. It's a mental disorder. And it's not something I wish upon anybody. It's not a fun life. It's not, woohoo, I'm trans, party time.
Today, I have a very special guest who comes to share his experience of being a transsexual in this new era of inclusivity and ideology. But before going any further, please sign our petition to stop classroom grooming, to stop exposing children to woke, ideological, and sexual content. While children have come through a dark time, the pandemic, denied access to their friends and grandparents, now we bathe them in a total deconstruction of the human race. Not long time ago, there was a clear understanding of what it meant to be a woman and a man. Today, it seems to not be longer the case. You can be whoever you want and have the gender of your choice, in spite of the one assigned to you at birth. This is what woke activists advocate for.
It's day 360 of being a woman, and it's my first International Women's Day, and I feel a lot more comfortable calling myself a woman than I did in those early days.
What is most worrisome is the increased number of sex reassignment surgeries. According to the 2020 plastic surgery statistic by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, a 15% rise in breast or chest surgical procedure was reported in transgender male patients from 2019 to 2020. Do not forget that the US sex reassignment surgery market size was valued at $1.9 billion in 2021. Today, we speak with Buck Angel, who went through the process of changing gender. Born in Los Angeles, California, USA, Buck Angel is a film actor and producer and public speaker. Angel began his gender reassignment therapy at 28. At the time, he was working as a female model, but was unhappy as a woman. Buck Angel is a strong advocate against the gender ideology and the increase of sex reassignment amongst children.
My name is Buck Angel. I am a biological female who transitioned to live as a man 30 years ago. So, and now I'm not an activist because that's a scary word. I would say I'm a advocate for freedom of speech and talking about transsexualism, not transgenderism. So I'm here basically to sort of build bridges with people like you. What you see coming from the transgender community is not reflective of me and many of the other people I know who are transsexual. So I feel very disassociated with my community, and I also feel very adamant to say that a lot of the stuff that's coming out of there is misogynistic, and I don't like what they're doing with children. So that's why I have these on some level, I'm an outsider to it's a new trans space. It does not reflect me at all. I transitioned 30 years ago to live as a man. I am not a man. I am a female, but I present like a man. So that being said, what I had to do was go through a lot of therapy, a mental therapy, right? I have what's called a mental disorder. It's called gender dysphoria, and it's a mental disorder, and it enabled me to sort of be able to use a doctor who gave me testosterone, and I was his first patient, by the way. He had never done it before, and he called me a guinea pig, an experiment. And then about a year or so after that, I had what we call breast top surgery. surgery, and I had my breasts removed for a more masculinization of my body. I did not have surgery below because you lose your orgasm, and I'm not willing to do that. I like myself. And so also it's not functioning like a biological male penis, and it takes a lot of work. And then two of the guys I know who did it, they wish they never did it. And then here I am, and 30 years of slow transitioning, and I didn't have the internet when I transitioned. That didn't exist. So I did it in a way that is very different than what you see today. I am a biological female, though I don't look like it. Trans women are biological male. I don't know why. This is the other thing, my friend. I'm not sure why that is like we're saying something really bad. It's the truth. We're saying the truth. I'm a biological female, and a trans woman is a biological male. It's why you are a trans person. There's no other reason you're trans. It's biology. So if you're not claiming your biology, then you're not trans. Those trans women who are saying they get their periods, they're crazy. They're not like people like me. There's a whole community of transsexual people who do not agree with those people and feel very insulted by it. And also, it's insulting to women. It's like, we're all going to just pretend like this is normal. No, it isn't. And actually, that's a form of mental health problem. When we start putting that into kids' brains that they could be anything they want, and they could have 500 pronouns, and they could be a dog or a bunny rabbit, or that's just actually in mental illness. And we're as adults, we're not in charge. It's the kids who are in charge. And it's actually wrong. We are doing a disservice to many of these young people. I don't care what you wear, and I don't even actually care how you identify. But what I do care is when you force other people to take on, I'm not forcing you to see me as a man. If you want to call me a woman and that's your space, I don't care. I look like a man. I walk the world as a man. Nobody ever really says anything. But I can't force you to accept me as a transsexual. I cannot do that. And just as you couldn't force me to accept maybe what religion you are or whatever that is. So I don't know how we got into a space where trans people are this like forbidden thing. You can't touch them, or you can't. It's not doing my community any good. It's actually hurting us a lot. The drag queen thing is gotten blown out of proportion. Now, there are some people that are doing weird stuff, like dressed up all with their boobs hanging out and like dancing in front of little kids. That is not okay. Drag queens have always been a very adult space. I mean, a lot of my friends are drag queens, but they know that it's for adults. It's not for children. So I'm not really sure where this drag queen story hour. I think what I see is I don't see a problem with somebody like that reading to a child if they're dressed like a lady, like, no boobs are hanging out, and maybe they just look like a clown, right? Because clowns read to kids, and on some level, drag queens are clowns. But I think what I don't like about it is the sexualization. And drag queens are for adults. They're not for kids. So I don't know why we're using... Is it an indoctrination? Might be. It looks like it from back here, right? But I don't really know what their intentions are. It's getting creepy. And that we put flags in schools at 5th graders and like those LGBT weird flags. And no, because if you're flying one flag, you have to fly other flags. You can't just have, because that looks like indoctrination. If you're only having the LGBT flag in there, well, what about other flags, right? So, and kids don't need to know about LGBTQ issues at 12 years old. They don't. And there we are, indoctrinating children into this belief system that there's no such thing as a boy or a girl. Yes, there is. Knock it off. I have a 10-year-old son.
Gender, how you feel and who you know yourself to be, tells you who you are. And there are a whole bunch of possibilities. Figuring out what feels right for you is just part of growing up.
If they taught that to my kid, I would show up at the school. Yeah, I'm not happy with this whole trans thing because I find it to be false, and I don't think it's about creating a safe space for us, and I don't think it's about coexisting with you. My son doesn't know that I'm a trans person because I don't live as a trans person. I live as a man. So everything I have in my life is male. All my identification, everything, he sees me as a man. There's no need for me to do that because that's not how I live my life. Number one, it's confusing to him. It's the trans, queer, non-binary that are ruining everything. that are taking over all of us, talking, thinking they run. The many of us are disappointed, and I think that many of us are starting to speak out more. And there's more transsexuals who are starting. They're starting to speak out, because we can't last like this. It's toxic, for a lack of a better word, and it's destructive to our community.
Woke content should not be in school at all. So if you agree with us, please sign our petition to stopclassroomgrooming.com to stop exposing children to woke, ideological, and sexual content. This is really important. Share it and sign it massively at stopclassroomgrooming.com.